Okay, hello everyone. I'm excited to introduce a well-maintained Python package I've developed aimed at tackling a common yet integrated challenge, migrating data between incompatible databases, particularly relevant for those in the backend domain. This task involved navigating the complexities of ETL, extract, transform, and load pipelines, a fundamental process for integrating and analyzing data from different sources. Despite the crucial role of ETL, its setup can be complex and very time consuming. My package simplifies this process, offering a straightforward way to integrate into a coding project by simplifying the intricacies of ETL and data migration. It's designed to enhance your workflow, saving both time and technical effort. Okay, let's explore how it can streamline your data handling task. You can also check out my project on GitHub as well. And as you can see, I have provided a well-documented code so you can easily contribute to my project as well. Okay, let's talk about the problem statement. Like, what's the problem with the traditional approach? You've got to deal with all these authentication files, tokens, security stuff, client URLs, basically a bunch of keys to different doors. Then you're writing some script to connect with these databases and by the way, these are all real codes. And then you are figuring out how to convert the schema of first database to another. And if you are doing this on backend, say a CI/CD pipeline, then it's become more hectic process to handle all these files and tokens. And that's where Datamigrato comes into picture. You can do all these steps in just 3 lines of code without worrying about different types of authentications, and it works best with backend pipelines. All right, let's kick things off from square one. We'll use 3 databases as our demo because they are based off different architectures and schema. Okay, let's first spin up a key space in Cassandra. Key space, not database, because that's how Cassandra rolls. And Datamigrato is all about speaking everyone's language. It uses the terminologies, the databases you are using. Well, the cool part of MongoDB I found is not sweating over the tokens and authentication files, which can give you some problem when you are dealing with these in backend pipeline, which I found a little bad about Cassandra. But with Datamigrato, you can leave those worries at the door. A bit of self-promotion, but hey, it's worth it. Okay, next is MongoDB. So here's the plan. We are setting up a new MongoDB database. If the collection name isn't already in the database, it will just pop into existence when we add the data. It's neat, right? Okay, so first let me create a folder where I put all these authentication files. Then I create a YAML file to store my client URL. Then I copy my client URL into that YAML file with a key value of client URL. Okay, there's one more thing. Let me add the network access IP to allow all the IPs to handle my databases. Or you can just add the IP address of the machine you are running the data migrator on. Now into Firebase real-time databases. This one is a bit unique, organizing the data in a tree-like structure. Just like Cassandra, we will need a token file and authentication file, so let's secure that too. Okay, so while it's cooking, let's see our Cassandra has generated the tokens or not. Okay, so I'll save these token and bundles into the same directory I've created earlier. And our Firebase project is also ready. We'll create new database and save these private key into the same destination. Before we dive into code, you will need this library from Python Package Index. I am constantly updating it, so keep an eye out for the new version as well. I've used this API project to test the population and migration of my Datamigrato package. Well, it's a fantastic project for testing different APIs. Getting it up and running is just a breeze. Just open a code space from here and give it a moment to set up. We are going to use it to populate our databases with some meaningful data, seeing as we are starting from scratch. I also use this project in my backend and testing stage in my CI/CD pipeline, and it's worked like a charm. Big shout out to Hitesh Chaudhary and Shubham and the team for keeping this project awesome and open source. Okay, you will want to rename this environment file to .env and run the docker command docker compose up and wait for it to boot up, and yes, it's live. Well, as you can see, it's a collection of different types of API, but for simplification, we will use this API for this demo. We are working with this data, and as you can see, it's a well-arranged data set. We will execute our query and copy the API link and replace the localhost with the public DNS. Okay, now let's switch gears to Google Lab to test our Datamigrato project. Okay, we'll first need to install the package. And here we paste our live API link we just created with FreeAPI and the reference URL of Firebase. Okay, if we try to run this line, you can see that we just hit an error because we haven't provided it the authentication files. So we will add these authentication files to my drive. Okay, let's open another Collab notebook to verify that the database are currently empty. And as you can see, there's nothing in the database yet. Okay, back to our main Collab. Let's run the code and voila, the database is populated. Let's verify that the database had been added to the MongoDB. And perfect, it's there. but our Cassandra database is still empty because we haven't migrated it yet. So let's go ahead and do that as well. We'll need the parameters for both MongoDB and Cassandra since we are working with these two databases. Running the migration script and checking the Cassandra. There it is, the migration successful. Just like that, we populated the MongoDB and securely migrated the data to Cassandra in just a couple line of codes. Okay, let me show you the database is being added to the web application of MongoDB as well. As you can see, the database is also present in MongoDB Atlas as well. Okay, let's clear the database again and get back to our main code. Okay, now let's populate MongoDB and migrate it to Firebase this time. And if we check our database, you can see that the Firebase is also migrated. You can also verify that data has been added to the Firebase web application as well. Okay, let's clear the database once again, and for the last time, let's populate the Cassandra and migrate it to Firebase database. Wait, this variable is not required, and let's run it again. And it's migrated. So as you have seen, migrating data from one database to another is a straightforward and simple process with Datamigrato. Now let's head into how this package works. Alright, that's wrap up our demo. Now let's dive a bit deep into and show you how the Datamigrato works under the hood. Understanding this will not only help you get more familiar with the package, but also guide those who are interested in contributing to the open source project. At its core, the Datamigrato's folder structure is designed for simplicity and ease of understanding. We have streamlined the number of databases to keep the things straightforward for now. And here's a quick overview. The adapters folder, this is where the magic starts. Each database we work with has its own adapter, responsible for establishing connection and performing base operations. For instance, the MongoDB adapter contains all the necessary logic for connecting to the MongoDB and handles the CRUD operations. Think of this adapter as a bridge between Datamigrato and the database. The migrators folder. Here you will find the migration files for each database. These files are loaded with the logic for populating the database, converting the schemas, handling the primary keys, and implementing the data structure algorithms, and more. It's important to note that each migrator class taps into a adapter module to execute the migration logic. For example, the Mongo migrator file outline how to migrate the data from MongoDB to other databases such as Cassandra, using the Cassandra adapter to facilitate the data transfer. The handlers folder. This is essentially the command center, orchestrating the migration from one database to another. It's where all the action is coordinated. The utils folder, last but not the least. This project contains various utilities modules that support the overall functionality of Datamigrato. From data conversion to API calls, these utilities are using to ensure everything runs smoothly. To give you a better understanding, let's look at a basic UML diagram that outlines the function call and logic within our package. Sticking with our MongoDB to Cassandra migration example, let's see how it's unfold. The handlers function. When user initiate a migration, they call the handlers, known as Datamigrato. If we are moving the data from MongoDB to Cassandra, you'll notice that the diagram uses color coding to simplify the comprehensions. Blue for the MongoDB and red for the Cassandra. The parameters for the MongoDB are outlined and are those for the Cassandra. migration module call. The handler kicks things off by reaching out to the migration module to establish a connection and create an instance for a source database, MongoDB, connecting the migrator to adapter. From there, we will plug the MongoDB migrator into the Cassandra adapter. This step is crucial for transferring the data from MongoDB to Cassandra seamlessly. Alright, let me show you one more thing. This is my CI/CD workflow, and this aspect is crucial for automating the streaming, the process of testing and deploying the Datamigrato package. As you can see, there are two main workflows, one for the deployment and another one for integration. In my integration workflow, the setup begins with installing all the necessary dependencies. Following that, I pull an image from the Docker Hub. This image is a fork version of the FreeAPI product we mentioned earlier. After pulling the image, we proceed to run it and verify the API connectivity. Okay, here's something different I've used. I've taken my token and bundle files, inputted them into a base64 string, and then stored this string as a GitHub secret variable. Well, this approach allows me to securely reintegrate these authentication files back to my directory during the CI process without relying on the third-party services for handling my sensitive data. Once the setup is complete, the workflow runs a series of tests. Well, these tests designed to ensure the package is functioning as expected by populating some data using FreeAPI and executing the migrations. This step is crucial for verifying the integrity and reliability of Datamigrato before any changes are merged or deployed. Okay, now let's head to our deployment workflow. Well, this deployment pipeline is triggered when I create a new release. This workflow focuses on validating the code and last time before proceeding to publish it to the Python package index. The process involves checking the code for potential issues, linting and packaging it properly, and then pushing the code and release it to the Python package index. This automated sequence ensures that every release of the Datamigrato is stable, secure, and ready to use. Okay, feel free to play around with the Datamigrato, whether you are planning to use it on your next project, thinking about adding to your own touch to the code, or just want to help spread the word. We'll in this together, and with your input, we can make the database migration easier and safer for everyone. And yes, keep an eye out for the updates from my side too. I'll make sure to give you a heads up if there's something cool and new added to the package. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I'm really pumped to see where we can take the Datamigrato with CRUD. Keep on coding, stay curious, and don't be afraid to push new boundary along the way. Catch you later and happy coding.